One day, everything was going well, until Jin Young's sister asked him if he ever had any experience with women in the first place. Jin Young almost manages to choke on water. Since he was confused about not hearing her properly, Jin Young asks her to repeat what she had asked. Instead of losing her confidence, she repeats the question once again while staring at him with her glittering eyes, which is enough to make a banana tree stand up. But none of it really makes sense in his mind right now, since he couldn't even realize that his sister would be talking about something like this all of a sudden for no good reason. But this whole thing is rather confusing to him, as he wasn't expecting his sister to ask him this type of question out of nowhere. As he asks for an explanation, she starts to stutter, and it seems that she might have seen something somewhere. It seems that she managed to check his patalk when he left his computer open. Hearing about patalk, he begins to wonder what she might have seen, because he keeps everything starting from stories to clips, everything. She comes closer to him, only to whisper into his ears to let him know what he trains his friends about as they call him the womanizing professor. As soon as he hears the name out of her mouth, the flashbacks begin to rush into his mind as he is the so-called advisor of the group. Assuming that she saw all of it, including what he helped his friends with, Jin Young realizes that he is in grave danger, as he wouldn't want her to see it in any way. Now she thinks that he must be rather experienced, since he is able to lecture his friends about all of it. Even though he plays the act as if he really does, in reality, he is the most experienced one there can be in his whole life. All the things that he knows about are gathered from the knowledge that he gained on the internet. Even though he is 26 and couldn't even manage to hold someone's hand, and all he coughs up are theories in reality. Even though he might be the professor to his friends, he is nothing but a virgin jerk-off in reality. Since his younger sister asked him about it, he couldn't hold himself back to portray him as someone inexperienced and started gloating about him being capable and experienced. But instead of doing any good, it ended up messing up the situation from there. Even his sister starts to believe him, and he continues to make it look believable as much as possible with his overreacting. While moving away, she mentions that for his age, he must have done it years ago, only for him to question the reason for her asking him something like that. Jin Young's sister claims that she and her friends have been talking about things related to male and female relationships these days, but it seems that she is the one who doesn't seem to know anything about it, and the most inexperienced one. Instead of backing down, she asks him if he could be the one to teach him about these. Jin Young doesn't get what she is saying, and she clearly mentions what she actually wants, which spooks him out even more, while mentioning his signature name. Well, he has his rights to be terrified, as no one would have expected their sister to talk like this in the first place. The next night, when he enters the house, he notices that all the lights at the house are turned off for some reason, as if nobody's home. Seeing this, Jin Young thinks that he will be left alone in peace, knowing that Bomb is probably not at home to poke him from time to time about the same old thing. He has already been avoiding the house for some days for the same reason. He doesn't want to turn it into a habit. But as he speaks out with a sigh of relief, Bomb speaks out of nowhere to question him how she had been stressing him out these days. Spooked out, Jin Young questions his sister what she had been doing with the lights turned off. It seems that she had done it intentionally, knowing that he would have stayed out of the house if he realized someone was still awake, which has been going on for a while now. Knowing that her own brother had been ignoring her, she charges him with the facts that he had been avoiding home for a while now, with various excuses for no concrete reason. Even though she claims that it has been a week, Jin Young claims that this is nothing but a misunderstanding. He has been displaying a load of reasons behind him not coming back home or staying at home. Just when she mentions that she is about to learn about it anyways, Jin Young reminds her that they are nothing but siblings and that can never happen. Bomb insists that he should forget that, and they must take their time, as their parents will be out late, which sounds rather like coming from his sister. While moving away, Bomb mentions that if he manages to lock the door tonight, he will probably be killed by her. This whole time, nothing processes through his head, as he doesn't understand the secret behind her behavior at all. Behind their relationship, it is a reality that Bomb is Jin Young's stepsister, and his stepmother joined their family when his father decided to remarry. But Jin Young thinks that even though they are not blood-related, he should be respecting the family boundaries. He thinks that she is taking the college too hard and has managed to lose her mind, and the only solution might be a mental hospital, which is more reflective than ever now. While wiping his head with the towel, Jin Young thinks that he better lock the door and have a plan to make sure nothing happens. But as soon as he touches the doorknob, he instantly hears what his sister said about locking the door, and he plops down on the bed, not being able to realize what he has to do in this situation. As time passes, he feels like the whole house is too quiet when she is living inside the house, as if nobody is awake at this time. He thinks that she might have been tired after the classes and everything, so she decided to fall asleep on her own. Hoping that it must be the truth, he thinks of persuading her to forget about it all the next day and starts to relax on his own bed, assuming that he has managed to escape from her troubles. Suddenly, her door makes a sound, and Jin Young sits up on his bed, hurriedly, realizing that it is all too late to speak of it now. He begins to shake as soon as he realizes that his sister might be standing outside the door to charge him. All he knows is that he cannot really handle what is about to happen, so it is better that something like this never occurs. Jin Young keeps begging that she doesn't come for the night, and at his heart, he only prays that she will end up going back to her room to sleep. But soon enough, the doorknob rotated and the door slowly opened with her calling for him to let him know her presence. Jin Young's nightmare has finally come true. Now, not being able to avoid her, he asks her to come in, and the awkward silence between the both of them is rather reflective through the roof. Even though he didn't do anything wrong, he cannot help but feel like something is wrong with them for now, as none of them expected to sit apart from each other for a reason like this. Instead of waiting for him to speak, Baum asks if he is not about to start the lecture, and Jin Young is forced to stare at her body. He was confused and blabbered out about her beans, but manages to fix his demeanor before she realizes. Before he could make it look even wrong in her eyes, he instantly asks her about watching the things that adults do in movies. It seems that she doesn't have experience watching, and Jin Young thinks that it will be better for her to skim through some of them. Even though Baum's friend thinks that all that are shown in the videos are nothing but acts, Jin Young considers them as basic movements displayed. Jin Young claims that he will only begin the lecture once she does what he asked her to, but it seems that Baum is so out of knowledge that she doesn't know where to even look, so she asks him to show it to her. Jin Young tried to avoid her request, but couldn't say no seeing her glittering eyes filled with the kind request. Believing that he can do it for her at least, he decides to check out his phone while asking about her personal preferences. While he looks through his phone, Baum gets impatient and starts haggling with him for a while. But instead of watching it with her, Jin Young sends it through a text and claims that he will be talking to her after she finishes watching, and he will be heading out with a friend. But the situation turns grim as she calls him back and claims that he will have to explain everything to her. While making her own spot on the bed, she calls Jin Young closer to him. When he doesn't seem to agree, she warns her, saying that she will tell her mother that he sent it to her in the first place. Hoping that it will be like what he did with his friends as he watched with them, he decides to take it rather normally. But when the video starts abruptly from the middle, both of them are spooked out of their mind, not expecting that this would happen. As the volume is rather high, Jin Young warns her, saying that their parents could have been at home. She even wonders how she would actually look while she will be doing the same thing. Jin Young says nothing and quietly stares all over her body, and Baum is busy paying notes. As time passes, Jin Young continues to have a hard time staring at his sister, but as she speaks, it gets way worse from there. When Jin Young is explaining what is happening, Baum notices that her brother is sweating, but he asks her to continue watching. As soon as she touches her, Jin Young flips out of nowhere, and it makes Baum disappointed as she cannot even take care of him. Jin Young, on the other hand, is having a tough time holding on, as he begins to wonder what actually the reason might be. As she reaches the last segment of the video, she thinks that it looks a little gross to her in a way. Jin Young then claims that men really are a little gross when it comes to that. But it seems that she hasn't been talking about the man, but the girl, as it makes her wonder how the woman could have accepted it. Even while talking about her own privates, Baum calls it gross, even though Jin Young seems to have a lot of admiration for it. Jin Young tries to become rather evident with her by mentioning a thing or two while showering. It gets flipped right onto his head as Baum begins to act and show how she really handles it. Then, while carrying her butt, She hovers above him, and Jin Young is unable to even comprehend what to do in this situation. Seeing that he is all shy and red, Bomb starts to tease him even more for being ashamed of it. Both of them manage to fall down from the bed, and fortunately, Bomb's balloons end up falling on Jin Young's face, and she starts to apologize to her. But there was something off with the situation, and it gets noticed by Bomb herself. When she calls him to make him check out something, both of them notice that the sword has been unleashed by Jin Young, and he is out of his mind seeing that now his sister is seeing the things she wasn't supposed to see since the beginning.